2, 1. It's good to meet you.
What's up, man?
It is great to meet you.
It's great
Fucking
to be here.
cheers, dude.
Salud.
Happy to have you. Happy to have you. What do you think?
Right. Yeah, it is good.
It's good, right?
Yeah. Smooth, though. Smooth,
Yeah.
yeah. It's definitely a little bit smoother than some of the mezcals I've been
This is
trying
true.
For sure, so.
I like the Own the Day shirt, by the way.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I messed up and I forgot some stickers, and I
you're
saw
good.
Frankie beat you to one already. So
Yeah,
so
Frankie's the homie, dude.
nice. Yeah, he left this one as well. That one's super cool.
Super good guy. It didn't. Very thing. I'm not perfect at this, and I'm certainly not perfect at stand up, but I'm very glad that like from the beginning of both, I never had to worry about like what my voice sounds like, what other people think about me, how I look on camera.
Got it.
The only time I ever got concerned about how I look on camera was like maybe I didn't realize it till way after the fact, but maybe like because we're in 25 now.
Yeah,
So
crazy.
about 2 years, holy fuck. Yeah, 2 years ago, little over 2 years ago, I did a men's physique competition. And I just cut a bunch of weight, right? Cut a bunch of weight. And I obviously, like, since I'm doing the podcast pretty regularly and, you know, I'm seeing myself, like, I'm not on fucking juice or anything. So it's a slow taper, right?
Yes.
Slow taper down.
Yes.
So I'm not noticing the huge changes until I see like pictures and shit. Well, I look back at those podcast episodes now and my face is a fucking skeleton. My voice is all high. And it's like, what the fuck happened?
That's so funny, man. Yeah,
It's like
crazy.
it's like the ending of fucking Raiders of the Lost Ark when they opened the Ark and all the Nazis died. Yeah, that's what I look.
Oh no.
It was rough, dude. But no, thankfully that's never been an issue.
Okay. Good
There
to
is
know.
something I wanted to tell you before we get into everything. So you run. So talk about your business a little bit first.
Okay.
Let's get into that. Let's talk about your business.
My name is Joe Abeyta. I was born here in Albuquerque, raised in northern New Mexico, Espanola to be exact, and then moved back to Albuquerque about 11 years ago to go to UNM. I got my degree in business from UNM, and then I had my first office job that lasted maybe about 8 months, and every little bit about it, man, was just not for me. And so I kind of had this idea in the back of my head that I was like, hey, I'm really good at cutting hair. I have my set clientele. At this point, I've been doing it for 3 years here with my license. And in my head, I kind of want to buy more time, if that made more sense. You know, like I was kind of being pushed in this direction to start off with that job that was not a good fit for me. But I was like, let's stick with something I know I'm good at.
What type of job was it?
I worked for this company called Centria Healthcare. We worked with kiddos that had autism, and I thought that was like the selling point on my end. But I took on a role that was completely did not help the kids. Like it
Was it like? I just have to ask because for like 3 years I worked in caregiving.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was on the management side of things.
Yeah. Yep.
But I did 2 years with like the state supported like DD waiver.
Okay.
And then I did a year in between the two. So I did like 1 year on the DD waiver, got hired by a company that was private pay. So it was basically a bunch of old white people that paid for private caregivers, right?
Yep.
And then I got fired from that job. And then, on some bullshit. Got fired on that job. And then I went back to a DD waiver job for a little bit. That was a fucking shit show. So was yours like DD waiver? Like supported by like what type of?
I was a client service manager, so kind of on the management side, and it was the worst possible job I could possibly have. Dude, I was in charge of hiring people, firing people, running people, processing insurances. They made me do these things called case studies. So I drove all over the state. In a day, they'd send me down to Las Cruces and back. Sometimes I'd be up north and back. I went to Roswell and Clovis and back. Yep. It was crazy.
Because Cruces is one thing. Like, that's almost a 4. What is that, 3.5, right?
3.5 there, just to sign a piece of paper to come all the way back.
I never heard of e-sign.
This was pre-COVID, obviously, and that's what I used to say. I'm like, we can't fax them this. We can't send an email.
That's crazy. Because like there was a time, like right before the pandemic, where I just made some poor life decisions with like managing my own life, and it was right before I deployed, and I was like, there was like it was like a 9-day period. So really, it was only like 5 or 6 like working days.
Got it.
Where I still had a job down in Roswell that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
But I was deploying, and I just met a girl here that I really liked, and we're still together now. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, that I really liked. And so I was like, and I had cut the lease on I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to like, I have a little bit of money in the bank.
Yeah.
I'm just going to cut the lease where I'm at with my orders, and then quit my job, whatever, and then hang out with my buddies for like 3 weeks and then leave.
Yeah.
And then I found this chick, and I was like, I need a little bit more money. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by the amazing people over at Chop Chili Company. Guys, they are the original sponsor of this podcast, and I could not be happier to continue to be working with these guys. I get it. It's New Mexico. Everyone loves red, green, both. But this genuinely is my favorite brand of chili here in the state of New Mexico, and I love being able to partner up with these guys. They are absolutely phenomenal. Zane and the rest of the team at Chop Chili do an amazing job running that company, and they make an absolutely phenomenal product. And right now, they are running a very special promotional on their Instagram. Go check them out on Instagram. Go give them a follow. And as they post pictures with the hashtag Where's My Chili Challenge, if you can guess where in New Mexico that picture was taken, you can win not only free red or green chili, but also a free custom t-shirt directly from the company themselves. Again, go check them out on Instagram, give them a follow, check out their hashtag Where's My Chili Challenge. Win yourself some free chili, win yourself some free shirts. They are also available in Smith's, Albertsons, Sprouts, and a ton of other grocery stores in the state of New Mexico, as well as El Paso, and they are expanding out to West Texas. Again, thank you so much to Zane and the rest of his amazing team over at Chop Chili. Back to the episode.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
like for like 9 days, or I guess like the 5 or 6 working days, I would wake up, because I get to work at 8. Okay. I would wake up at 4:30, drive down to Roswell, work for 8 hours, drive back.
That's insane. That was your daily commute.
Oh yeah, my little Honda Civic. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. In the Honda Civic, at least it does get on gas. Hopefully.
Oh yeah.
So you did all right.
Yeah, it was easy on the Honda, but having you do those trips over and over and over is kind of nonsense.
It's nonsense. It was nonsense. So there was a lot of part about that job. Their whole pitch was that they wanted to help people, families, especially with kiddos that had autism.
Right.
And the therapy itself did work. I got to see that firsthand working in the center with some of the kids. But the most messed up part, obviously, is the healthcare side. And I finally decided to leave the company when I had gotten permission to approve this family.
Keep going. I'm just going to turn the fan on and shit.
Yeah, of course. So I say I got permission to approve this family for services. They specifically were like, yo, we can't get charged for these services. We literally can't afford them. Like, we're good, right? The insurance is going to cover it. And I was like, yeah, you have my word. You guys are cleared. And so they received services for about two months, probably 3 months, and then they received a bill for it. And I get a call again because I'm the main point of contact for the company.
Yeah, so you're the one that has to bite the bullet and tell them the shitty news
and be like, hey guys, so our pitch actually isn't that we want to help everybody here. It's our pitch is who has better insurance that covers all of it, and that's kind of the name of the game, you know. So
yeah, it's fucked.
It's frustrating for sure. So, but within that term too, I had to come up, like I said, it was on my year there, and I just decided it wasn't going to be a good fit for me. So decided to leave the company, and like I said, I left, and then I was cutting hair at the same time, and that's when I just kind of decided to make the jump to open up my own business at, I believe I was 24 years old at the time. So.
Good. And how old are you now?
I'm 30 now.
Good for you. Hey, man, you're an easy 30.
Yeah,
whatever your skincare routine is, keep that shit up, son.
You were asking me earlier, like, you have a lady at home, yeah? And I was like, yeah, of course. She's the one who helps me out with the skincare routine. I didn't know what sunscreen was and moisturizer. Like, when we first met, man, I was washing my face with antibacterial hand soap. And just,
shit. Okay, I've never been that bad.
I was one of those. Yeah,
that's not good.
I was like, it's soap, right? Yeah, I was like...
I had a long time ago, ex-girlfriend, soon to be ex-fiance. I remember she came over to my old place I was staying at, and I was like, maybe, God, we were young, dude. I was like 18 maybe.
Yeah.
And I had put fucking, I was doing the dishes, and I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. You know what I mean? I went to military school for fucking 6 years.
Yeah.
Did all my shit for me, whatever. And then whenever I was at home and I would do the dishes, I would just be lazy about it. It's like, I'm going to use this plate again. Wash, put away, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just wasn't thinking, and I got liquid dish soap. And I was going to put it in the washer. She was like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, it's soap.
You're like, it's soap. Exactly. That's me right there, man. I'm like, it's soap, right?
Soap is soap, right? But, so with you owning, so I've never been to your barbershop.
No, yeah.
And we got connected through, it's like half Frankie and then half Josh out of Against the Grain.
Yep.
I've never been to your shop. About how big is it?
The shop now so this is our third location in going on 6 years, and the current shop is about 1,500 square feet right now.
Good for you. So you could fit a decent amount of people in there.
Yeah, right now it's a coworker and myself, and I have a third chair that I'll be looking to fill here pretty soon, and then I'm actually adding a fourth chair this year.
Good for you.
Yeah, so it's really hard to find good people you trust, some of that like doesn't change the whole vibe or environment of the area, and so I've been really picky with who I've brought in, and it took some time, but I think my coworker and I are at that point we're ready to bring in like at least 1 to 2 other people on the team. So
well, you gotta figure, like I've never spoken to a barber before, but I've had a couple tattoo artists on here, including mine. Yeah. And what I've learned, I'm sure it's the same thing in a barbershop. There's a whole culture thing you got to think about, and there's a whole because you guys are a team, obviously. But I mean, especially you as the owner, I mean, if you're going to work there all day, you're probably there for what, 10, 12 hours a day?
Oh, easily. Yeah.
And if you're spending 12 hours a day with these people, you got to be able to stand them, first of all.
Absolutely.
And second of all, they have to be hard workers, and they have to contribute and be very skilled, because they're effectively because you're not like a national brand yet, and you're trying to build up. So if you're having just a rocky foundation.
Yes.
And it's like, oh yeah, that one barber there sucks. Well, it's like, fuck, man.
Absolutely.
If one barber sucks and you only got 3 of them,
yep.
Mm-hmm. So you got to have that, but also you got to be able to stand these people and work with them, and
absolutely.
So if they're just a shithead, it's like, I don't know if your personality's thing. The reason why I ask about the size of your space. Mm-hmm. I want to get you connected with this local comedian in town. His name's Jake Otero. Super funny guy.
Okay.
But he runs Don't Tell.
He actually reached out about 2 weeks ago.
Good.
And they said they liked the shop.
Good job, Jake.
Yep.
You fuck. No, because I tried to get it. It ended up working out, but I tried to get him in touch with my gym that I used to go to pretty regularly, called Legion Iron.
Okay. Awesome.
He would just fucking put it off. It's like, motherfucker, it would be cool. It didn't work out, but good. He already reached out to you.
Yeah, he reached out. He's actually I got to get back to him, but he's supposed to pull up this week. Come check out the shop. We're gonna discuss that. Hopefully, plan something in the books.
Good.
Shout out again to Frankie and Josh as well. Frankie's one of my right-hand mans there at the barbershop.
Nice.
I gave him the title as creative director at the shop about 5 years ago when I was scrounging to throw together one of our first pop-ups, and Frankie pulled up, just this young kid, really hustling, just wanted to be out on the scene. I'd seen him at different pop-ups and stuff, and he came to one of the shows and just organically was able to help me unlike anybody else had before. He was like, hey man, let me get these flyers out. Let's push for the social medias on this. Let's try to push and get you like a new brand in here too. And he's been every graphic or design you've seen for Ito's within the last 5 years is shout out to Frankie on the day.
Yeah, that's what I like about that dude. He comes off very laid back.
Oh, he's
very, very nonchalant, but
real cool cat.
Hard work motherfucker.
Yeah, he's one of the hardest working people I know. So shout out to Frankie for sure, and I'm honored to get to work with that guy every single day. So
going back a little bit, what got you into haircutting in the first place?
That's a good one. I started cutting hair on my mom's porch when I was in 8th grade, I believe, 7th or 8th grade.
Who the fuck trusted you with clippers?
my brother, my little brother.
So someone dumber than you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that makes.
Yep, exactly. Dude, you know what's crazy is if you would have asked me 15 years ago if I would have cut hair as a career, I would have said fuck no. There was absolutely no way. My younger brother, shout out to Adrian, he was actually the first one who ever. He was like, "Hey man, we're getting into like middle school now. I care about how my hair looks. Like, you think you can taper me up?" And I'm like, "All right, yeah, I'm not."
It's the most New Mexico little kid fucking thing
He's
I've
like,
ever
"Hey
heard
dude,
in
like,
my life."
at this point, dude, our grandfather had been cutting our hair up until then, and it was like a number 3 buzz cut all the way around, no fade, no taper. You got left some chispas here.
Fuck yeah, because he grew up in the '60s, son.
He would cut your ear every once in a while, you know. So yeah, so at this point, my brother's like, okay, like anything might be better than that. Shout out to Grandpa too, because I actually learned how to cut hair with my grandfather's clippers that I still have today.
Oh, that's sick.
Which is super cool. But he would lend me his clippers, and I would watch YouTube University, and just learn how to taper, learn how to fade. And after about a year of really fucking up my brother's hair. I finally started to get the hang of it. The poor kid, he would be like, "Do I need a hat? This haircut?"
He's like, no, girls are holding my hand in middle school. What the fuck is going on, man?
No, yeah, exactly. He was like, "Come on, bro, please, like, help me out." He's like, "Do I need a hat?" I'd be like, "Yeah, you're gonna need one for this one for sure." So, but so supportive, man. He's truly the reason why I'm like a barber today.
Nice.
I started off at my first barbershop, and I attended UNM and I went to barber school at the same time. I graduated from barber school in a year, and then I started across the street at Campus Barber. And,
okay, cool.
It's like, yeah, as I said, it's right by Frontier, right on Central. Gosh, crazy place, crazy place. I was 20 years old when I started. I wasn't even old enough to go to the bar with the barbers I worked with, to have a beer after work and stuff. And but I remember being so broke just from school and getting out of barber school and not having a job. And my brother, that same brother, was like, "Here you go, dude. I'll give you a loan," is what he called it. He's like, "Go buy." He gave me his debit card. He's like, "Go buy whatever tools you need, buy whatever equipment you want."
What were you studying at UNM?
At the time, I was studying engineering, which
and
was not for me either. Yeah,
it's tough, dude.
which is crazy.
So and then you graduate UNM. What'd you graduate with?
I graduated with my bachelor's in marketing.
Marketing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I went to Anderson. I loved it there. It was night and day from going from engineering school to the business school. I was in the School of Engineering for about a year, and I was failing every STEM class you could think of. So my advisor sat me down at the time and was like, "Look, kid, it's like I don't think you're
not a numbers guy."
Yeah, you're not.
Neither am I.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, "You're not a numbers guy," and I appreciated that because nobody had told me that up until that point, and I don't think I was gonna admit it. You know.
Well, yeah, because especially at a young age, you need somebody to give you some hard conversations where it's like, "Hey, man," and from a place of authority too, where it's like, "Hey, listen, I've seen people like you."
Yeah, exactly.
You can either keep dumping money into this and get nothing out of it, or you either drop out or change principles.
Exactly.
I mean, that's how. I mean, dude, like in high school, I failed every single math class that I took. I was in summer school every single summer. I had to take 2 math classes at senior year so I could graduate on time. Like I was a dumbass. I also didn't try very hard, but it just numbers, I just couldn't fucking do it. It just wasn't my thing. So what I'm curious about is like in a marketing school or marketing degree path, what are they teaching you? Because what year is this when you're going through college and you're doing marketing specifically?
This was probably about 2015 at the time.
So this is the rise, like the real beginning. I mean, we're still experiencing it right now.
Literally.
But this is the very beginning of the rise of like Instagram and digital marketing. Like,
all of it.
So I'm always curious about stuff like that. And I'm still very skeptical of like social media classes now.
Yeah.
Where it's like, because I always think about it and I'm like, wouldn't you want to be taught by somebody who's like got millions of followers on Instagram or somebody who like knows what the fuck they're doing?
Because that's the whole point, right?
You would think, right?
Yes.
It's like, what were they teaching you in marketing class?
That's the crazy part, and I like getting asked that question because I feel like I run in market and own my own business now, and a lot of the stuff that I did learn in marketing school didn't really hands-on apply. I mean, there was one class I did get to take. It was like towards the end of my senior year, and the professor actually it was a whole marketing geared class, and this is maybe the one that truly, like, to answer your question, kind of dialed in. But they really focused on Twitter, they focused on Instagram, Facebook, and of course like your LinkedIn, like running your profile and updating that. But I think it is relevant because at the time I had never really. One of our projects was, okay, you guys are gonna open up your own small business, and with it you're gonna run. It was Twitter at the time. You're going to set up a Twitter account, and you're going to come up with the name. You're going to post your slogan. Like, you need to come up with different marketing strategy and a plan to go about it. And I think for the first time ever in my life, because at the time I was cutting hair through school, but also going to marketing school. I knew I was going to business school, but I did it not because I wanted to necessarily open my own business. I did it because I knew that a business degree is very versatile. And I spoke to a lot of people that had one, and they were all doing different things. But for the first time ever, I actually thought about maybe like opening up my own barbershop, which was pretty crazy. So in that sense, it helped a lot. It planted the seed in my head. But other than that, I mean, I think the thing I learned the most while being in marketing school was how to network, how to work with others, and how to work in groups. That was definitely that's the biggest lesson I learned there that I've been able to translate into what I'm doing now. So
that's a very good point. And I was going to bring that up, so I'm going to get into it a little bit. But for Twitter, especially at the time, what were they teaching you about Twitter other than just how to set up an account and do all that?
It was like setting up your account, engaging with people, posting, staying consistent with your posts. And then a lot of it was just like trying to figure out who your target audience was at the time, or like who you really wanted to try to like focus on your ads for certain people. And obviously if I'm opening up a barbershop, it's definitely gonna be probably, you know what I mean, like men. We specialize in men, traditional men's haircuts and stuff like that. So I kept it really classic with that. I didn't really go too much out of the box as far as that went at the time, but it definitely, I would say, helped at the time kind of reel it all in. Instagram was, I believe, kind of just starting off at the time. It wasn't, I mean, I had one obviously, but as far as like a business platform, I never thought of.
It wasn't what it is now.
No, absolutely not.
It wasn't what it is now. Like the big like social space was, I mean, it still is now. Obviously, it's become like this just digital and like political Wild West. But what Twitter's turned into, but like Instagram back then was just like, I went on vacation.
Yeah.
Here's what I ate for dinner.
Yeah.
Or like, here's my girlfriend, here's my boyfriend, here's my new kid or whatever.
Yeah.
It wasn't the behemoth that it is now. And it's ironic hearing that UNM was teaching about Twitter, right? How much things have changed in 10 years.
10 years.
Because now they're going to tell you that X is the devil.
X is not. It's crazy, right? As I say, it's so constantly changing.
It's just funny, dude. And so now, kind of jumping ahead a little bit, specifically on social media, do you feel like anything that you got taught in that school translated to your marketing strategies now? Or are you kind of more like learning as you go? Because it's so like, it's changed. It's not like to call it evergreen. I don't think is very accurate because it's evergreen in the sense that you're never going to stop using it. Like, of course you're going to use it, but the way that it's changing and evolving, it's just, and nobody, I don't think anybody really gets the algorithm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think anybody gets it. And it's hard to tell like who actually has accurate numbers, who bought followers, who buys likes, and like it's hard because I look at like maybe like I started really going into this like maybe a year ago, and I mean I still don't have any sort of grasp on it, but I remember I sat down and I looked at like the biggest Instagram pages, like The Rock, the Kardashians, these big pages, and even those guys, if you look at their follower count and you look at their like the amount of likes they get on pictures or the amount of likes they get on reels, even if these guys are getting something to the tune of 1 million and some likes, 2 million likes, whatever, but their follower account is something to the tune of 100 million plus.
It's just not matching up.
They're only getting, what is that, 10% or some shit?
Percentage of it,
no, that's 1%, 2%.
2% of.
I think the highest that I've seen is like maybe 8% of their engagement, of just is happening. So it's like, if these guys aren't even, if you just extrapolate that down, or you scale that down, it's like you shouldn't really feel that bad about the engagement that you're getting, but at the same time, it's like, how the fuck are you supposed to grow with all this shit?
I mean, it's one of those things that I started off by doing it just day to day. I knew when I opened up the barbershop that Instagram was going to be my platform. I'd seen it rising at the time. I knew that it was the one that I personally liked using the most at the time. And so opened up the business account, decided to start kind of promoting and marketing all on my own for the first one. And the thing that's a little difficult with that is like I knew I had a vision or I had a direction I wanted to move in. I knew I have a certain look for the shop that I want it to feel like when people look and check out the page. But the hard part is finding a photographer that can come in and recreate that vision that you're thinking of, or somebody like Frankie that comes in and does the design work and like all the graphic design for you too that also represents the space as well. So the hardest part for me was finding these certain people that I personally liked their style and wanted them to represent the shop in a way. And then once I found that, it was the hardest part again is creating content and try to just stay consistent with it. So for about the first 2 years, I ran and operated the Instagram all on my own. And over, like I said, the last year and a half, Frankie decided to help me take over as well. So we both mutually run the Instagram together. And since then, the growth has been just absolutely enormous. And you were saying, like, who knows how to actually read these analytics? Who knows how to do these things? Frankie, he's definitely one of those guys, man. He has been getting us on this organic page that I built that I started 6 years ago. Never paid for followers. Just slowly, I would cut somebody's hair and tell them to give us a follow. They'd follow back. We'd throw a pop-up. People would follow. And he has taken, just within this year, we're posting reels that we are getting anywhere from like 2,500 to 4,500 views on, and we have maybe I think 1,200 followers, like 1,300 followers, and I know it's working because we're having new people come into the shop, and we're like, hey, one of our favorite questions to ask people is like, how did you find out about us? And a lot of them are like, oh, we either saw your reviews online, found you on Google, but lately a lot have been like, we saw your reel on Instagram. And it brought us to the page, and so
because that's what matters.
Yeah.
Is getting asses in seats. At the end of the day,
absolutely, yep.
That's what matters. Like even if you have just like 12, even if you get to like 10,000 followers, like that's all fine and good.
Yeah, absolutely.
But how many people are actually showing up and buying your product? In your case, actually getting their haircut, buying merch. What I fucking love the hat, by the way.
Thank you, man.
It's a badass hat.
Thank you. This is one of the original ones. As I say, it was a cool one for sure.
But it's how can you convert your following into actual people showing up to do what you do.
Absolutely. And to go back to what you were saying, like there's no point in having 20 million followers if one small percentage of them is actually engaging in what you're trying to promote or like pass on or, you know what I mean, create. And I remember about 2 years into running the shop, I had one client who was like one of the photographers at the shop at the time, and he moved away. And I remember he was like, oh man, I'm going to move and I have this account and it has way more followers than yours does. And if you're down, like, I'll just give it to you when I leave. And for a while, I was like, okay, I'll consider, because it did have quite a few more followers. And it was time for him to, like, leave. And at this point, I'd waited on my own personal account for, I think, a month and a half when I first started, when it was really essential to be like, okay, I need to be promoting. But I waited thinking I was going to take over this other Instagram, where when the time came down to it, the homie actually said, he was like, oh, well, I'm going to sell it to you. And I'm like, dude, I just waited a month and a half. You know, you promised to just give me the account. Like, we've been working out deals here. And he was like, no, yeah, I definitely got to sell you this. Like, these are all like organic, real followers, you know? And at that point, I learned like 2 lessons. I was like, I don't think I need to purchase this fake account with fake followers that are not going to engage and maybe not even doing me any favors here at the shop. But then 2, I learned one of the biggest lessons in business. And it's, of course, you need people to help you build. But at the end of the day, you can't wait on others to help you out with whatever that one small thing might be. Like you gotta rely on yourself in that sense. You know? So.
But even if you did take over that account, let's be really generous, like really liberal with it, and say that half of those people were real and half of those people actively engaged and liked and shared and commented or whatever the fuck, right?
Yeah.
Let's say they actually did that. I mean, they're going to see the thing turn from whatever it was into a barbershop, and it's like, or like, even if, like, because what was the page originally?
The one, it was a photography page.
Okay, great. Yeah, so, photography to barbershop, they're like, who the fuck?
Exactly, who is this?
Who is this?
Yeah,
so they're either not going to care about it or they're just going to unfollow it. It's like, I don't care about barbershop, whatever, fucking unfollow.
Absolutely.
So it's like, no, it's like, I see the logic, but then you unpack it for longer than 10 seconds. It's like, yeah.
You
should probably stick with what you got.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you know, the conversion rate from, you know, what you already have to like, hey, go follow this page. This is gonna get whatever. I just probably not worth it.
Yeah,
probably not worth it.
Yeah, definitely in my head, I never saw it through, but I didn't think it was. And that same page that I started 6 years ago, like I said, Frankie helped me take over, and we're both killing it now. I feel like it's absolutely targeting the audience that we are looking for right now at the moment. So
you decide to open up your own shop. You start getting it going. What year do you start opening up your own shop?
It was it was June of 2019.
Oh fuck. So let's say you're in good graces for 6 months.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine the first month and a half was rocky, opening up, getting things set up. You're getting
Absolutely.
So what was actually, start there. What was the process of actually starting the business? Like finding the place, getting a loan, getting qualified for a loan. What was all of that?
Crazy story, man. So at the time I was working at that company I brought up earlier. They had started me off at $50K a year. So I'd been there for almost a year. So I had a decent amount of savings, you know, and I was still cutting hair part-time as well at the time. So I kind of actually didn't even have to take out a loan. I had my own personal savings that I was like, okay, I'm going to use this to try to make the jump. Nice. And the crazy part with the space is, so within that, I left campus barbershop to work at this job. I was there, and then I knew I still wanted to cut hair on the side, but I didn't want a place like campus where it was so like, you have to be at a certain time, you can only leave at this time. I didn't want to be micromanaged like that. And so I found this little studio, which came to be the first barbershop. And At the time, it was one other barber, and there was an artist in there as well, Cloudface, Peter. He's a really great artist. Here in town, he still is like deeply involved in like that community.
Like a painter?
Yeah, he's a painter. Okay, yeah. You can find his stuff at Hollow Spirits. He still hangs all of his stuff there for sure. Cool. So really cool style. He's one of my favorite artists at the time. But I remember walking in there, and I was friends with the barber at the time. His name was Tommy, and I had been friends with him because I had met him at the previous shop, and he was the one who reached out to me and was like, "Hey, Jojo, I got a seat for you. Like, come hang out." He was like, "Cut hair, it'll be cheap." I think at the time he was charging me like $200 a month for rent or something, $250. Like, it was super cheap. And he was like, "You get a key and you can come and go when you want." And so I did that for the 8 months that I was at Centria. I would work Centria 8:30 to 6, and then I would leave there and I would go to this art studio after, and I cut from 6 till 8:30, and then work Monday through Friday at that job, and then Saturdays was the busy day at the shop, so I was there 7 to 6, 7 to 8, you know what I mean, 7. Sunday was my only day off, and then I was back at work on Monday. So I was just absolutely, like, again, I've learned like a better life-work balance, because if I didn't, there would just be no way I could still be doing all of it, you know. But so this studio, though, the year goes by, and Tommy comes to me, and he was like, "Hey, dude, so the lease is ending, and I don't want to take it over, but I think you should." And I was like, "I'm not too sure if I could do that. Like, I have a full-time job. I'm not sure I want to, like, take this place on." And he was like, "You have the clientele for it. People follow you. You're busy here. Like, I think it would be great for you. I think you should do it." And he's like, "And I'd still be down to rent a chair from you." And I was like, "Okay." So I went and I talked to the landlord at the time, and it was this crazy little space right off Central and Edith, across the street from the Grove Cafe. It's right there, but yeah, Farina's is literally like right across the street as well, and so it's on the opposite end. But went and talked to the landlord. He's this neurosurgeon here in town, and they come from a pretty rich family that owns half of downtown as well, and a good part of like that area. And I just remember like coming to talk to the guy, and remember I was like, this guy is a character, you know, character. But I go to talk to him, and we work things out, and I'm able to take over. I sign the lease at the spot for a year, and I take it over, and then I go to talk to Tommy, and I'm like, "Hey man, so as far as like the business license and everything goes, like we're gonna have to get that transferred, right? Or we're gonna have to switch that over." And he was like, "What license?" And I was like, what do you mean, dude? Like, you've been charging me the last 8 months I've been here, obviously because we have a license, right? And he was like, "No, there's no shop license, man. Like that, like we just it's an art studio." And, dude, and
no.
Yes, bro. So I'm like, all right, well, crazy life, dude. And so I'm 24 years old, and I'm like, all right, well, I guess I got to figure out how to get a shop license and establish the place.
So he just thought that because with the barber's license, with a business license like that, you have to pay it off, right?
It's an establishment license, yeah,
right.
that you purchase, and the way the state board does it here, you apply for it, you purchase it, you have to rebuy it every single year.
Oh, you have to rebuy it. Okay.
Yeah, and then they come in and they audit. Well, not audit, but they come in and like check everything, make sure you're following standards. And
how much is it a year?
How much do I have to pay now a year for the establishment? It's no more than like $100, $200. Like,
it's not bad.
Nothing. No, it's nothing. It's not like a liquor license for sure.
Okay, I was thinking more in terms of that.
So no, that wasn't the issue. The issue was going about figuring out how to even apply for one.
Right.
I'm like, okay, well now I'm gonna have to open up a business under like a sole proprietorship, and eventually like work my way into an LLC. Apply with my IENI number, which at the time was my social security, and so. Again, I went to business school, but they don't really actually teach you how to go about applying for any of these licenses, how to establish a business with the city. I remember.
And the hardest part of applying for one of those, because I have an LLC right now.
Yeah.
But one of the hardest parts of getting the LLC is finding the fucking website.
That's
That's the hardest part, because that's just a government site that you fill out, you pay $50 and move on.
Yep.
But just finding the website, like I only got the website because an old friend of mine that runs I don't know if he still does it, but he used to run a marketing company.
Yeah.
He just knew about it. So like, here's the link.
Yep.
I was like, all right, cool.
That's exactly what. Yeah, and I was like, that was the hardest part, is trying to figure out how to get connected with these websites, how to go. I was going to business or the city business like centered office downtown, trying to ask questions like.
And they're God bless them, but they're useless.
Yeah.
God bless those government organizations. Just do not fucking. They are more than willing to help you when you get established.
Absolutely, yeah. But
getting to the point is just pulling teeth.
It's like it's this weird like gray in between area that you just kind of, again, if I weren't for a friend that had been a barber who had opened up his own space before, and he would throw me a bone here and there. I'd come to him and be like, dude, I need help, And so if it weren't for him, then I definitely wouldn't have figured out how to go about applying and getting these licenses and just going that route. So
have you ever lost your tax ID number?
No, not yet. I was gonna say not yet. Thank God.
Did you lose it? Yeah. I lost it once. I was on the phone with the IRS for 45 minutes.
Oh yeah.
To get one number, and then when I finally get to the right person,
they redirect
you. They're like, okay, here's your number, ready? And I write it down. So did you get my gas? Okay, well, that's it. Have a good day. And the whole conversation lost like a minute.
Yeah. I was like, I can't tell you how many conversations I've had just like that, and not only with just the city, like the businesses here, but for the licenses, but also for the state board of like barbers and cosmetologists. They are, again, it's like pulling teeth every time you're trying to reach out to them. I've relocated my business twice now, and both times it was a different application or form on how you were supposed to update your address. And same thing, you'll call. They take a 2-hour lunch break every day. You'll leave a message, and then they'll call you back when you're in the middle of a haircut. So then you're playing phone tag for a week or two, and then you finally get a hold of them just to be like, yeah, it's on the website, and you got to print this, and then just email us your money again. So yeah,
part of my day job, right? I work as a recruiter for a security company. So we have to deal with RLD for a security guard licenses, and this is a daily thing for me. Is that these people, they can't work until they get their security licenses, and like, fuck, like 8 months ago, maybe even almost a year ago, but like, yeah, let's just say a year ago, there's this like just slump where like nobody's getting their license, nothing's moving. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? Our trainer finally gets a hold of them, and they're like, oh yeah, so we only have one person working right now for the whole state approving licenses.
Oh, I believe it.
And this is not just security license. This is like MMA gyms. Yep. This is barbers. This is tattoo artists.
Restaurants.
This is and we're just like,
cannabis, right? Industries.
What?
It's insane.
One person is doing all of this.
Yep.
And now I think they have like 3. But it's like, what? Like, what the, how is this so, you take my taxes, and I have shitty roads. The government doesn't work. You can barely get them on the phone. It's like, what the fuck is going on?
It's a tough system sometimes to try to just, you know what I mean, deal with it all the time. So, yeah, opening up a small business or running your own LLC is definitely not for the faint of heart.
It's a pain in the ass, and I like getting into the detail about this because I feel like there's a lot of things that people don't realize, and they just don't think about it. You think you're like, okay, we'll make a couple of calls, business license, whatever, and we're just here to cut hair.
Yeah.
What's going on? And like, do you have to take? I know, like, obviously, just with the nature of it, for like tattoo artists, they have to take like bloodborne pathogen tests or tests and courses and stuff like that. Do you have to do any kind of like health courses or like get any kind of health certifications?
That they include that within your 1,200 barber hours that you do in barber school.
So what are you learning then in barber school?
Barber school is a mix of theory. Within the theory, like you're saying, you're learning about bloodborne pathogens, about different diseases. You're learning about sanitation. You're learning about techniques. You're learning just like the biology side of hair, which I was actually really surprised about. I didn't think I was going to learn a lot about that side of it. And then the other half is obviously just cutting hair.
So what do you mean about the biology side of hair?
I remember like taking my, so when you take your barber exam, there's 2 parts to it. You have the written and the practical. And for the written part, I remember certain questions about like how many white T blood cells are in your system. And like those were some of the questions that I had to pass in order to like obtain that first half and then go on and do the practical, which was pretty crazy. So to be honest too, with that, I felt like it was more of a memorization game because I don't remember a lot of like the biology side of like the barber school.
I mean, if you cut a guy, he's just bleeding a little bit.
Yeah, well, again, it's like you learn that in theory, but then when you start your first shop, you actually cut a guy, and it's like, okay, how do we stop the bleeding real quick? Like,
right.
Do I advise him to actually go to the hospital? Or are we good? Is it a little nick? Like, was it? And then that's where if you're properly like enforcing and actually practicing safe practices, you're using a new razor on every client. You're not using the same dirty towel to wipe all 5 people's faces in a row. You're switching out the cape.
See, and that's what I was going to ask is like for like the cross-contamination, stuff like that, what are like the more common that you learn about and now that you see in practice? what is some of the more common cross-contamination stuff that you're dealing with, and how do you mitigate that?
So right now at the shop, we all try really hard to keep everything clean. We deep clean our stations every couple days. We're making sure that we're disinfecting like every tool that we're using prior to like haircuts. The barber side, fun fact, if you don't actually let it soak for at least 10 minutes before another person comes in, it didn't actually fully do its job.
Same with, what like, soak?
Just all your tools, like your guards, your combs, the blue liquid barbers put their stuff into. That's barber side, and that's where, again, even if you're not mixing that properly, like too much could chemically mess somebody up, but then not enough isn't going to actually disinfect your stuff.
I'm going to stop going to Great Clips.
So you got to, if they're not letting those soak for at least a couple minutes before you're in between people, it's definitely not.
Definitely not fucking, I've not seen blue liquid at Great Clips in years.
Yeah, man, you got to come in. I was like, you got to come in. Some of the craziest shit I ever saw, dude, is the first shop. I'm not going to name drop anybody, but I saw barbers use the same razor blade on 20 people in one day. And all they did in between was spray it with some Lysol real quick, like, psh, psh, let me clean this off, and then get the next guy right. Because the razors that they used were too expensive to use on everybody. Or that same barber used to grab his towel and, like I'm saying, wipe the same towel. He would just use a different part of it and wipe people's faces, wipe their neck down, like brush them off with it, and then kind of flake it out a little bit. And then he would let his capes, he wouldn't wash them for up to a week, maybe 2. And so the capes would kind of get stiff in a different color. They'd be like white but gray after 2 weeks.
Because, they're supposed to, he's got a piece of cardboard, just fanning.
Literally. This fool he was too much, this guy. But
yeah, I don't want you to. Well, I mean, a part of me kind of wants you to, because that's a fucking health hazard. But like, is this dude still in business?
I'm not too sure. We both like split ways at that shop. Yeah, it was like I worked with 8 other barbers there, and then all 8 of us at one point just kind of went our own way. So so I'm not too sure what he's up to now. He's still getting cut up by some of his clients. Good luck. Oh, that's another thing is he would cut people all the freaking time. That was another tough one. So yeah, I've seen some crazy stuff along the way. So I'm
gonna ask you a stupid question.
What's up?
But like, because I would imagine, because then you have like, I mean, obviously the guards are not deciding, but it's discriminating like the amount of hair that's getting cut and like the length and all that kind of stuff. But like, I would imagine the guards are also kind of guarding your skin, right?
Absolutely.
So is it just the angle that with the clipper is going that cuts people? Is it the pressure? Is it a mixture of two?
Like an actual cut?
Yeah.
You mean like
like when you nick somebody or you cut somebody.
That could be. So
is it because the razor's dull?
If you have a guard on your clippers, you're most likely not going to cut somebody. You're going to be okay. That, like you said, it adds that layer in between. But it's usually, I mean, we obviously live in Albuquerque. A lot of people love zero fades, and so it's when you get down to the double zeros on the skin and the razors, and there's so much room for error when it comes to that, man. Like, it could be the clipper, and it could be a quick movement on your client, not even your fault, and all of a sudden you're biting their ear. It's a quick one, or it could be like you're doing the razor on somebody's cheek and they go to sneeze and don't give you a heads up, and it's a quick little one on the face too. So, or it's just blatantly like your tools, you're not checking your tools well enough, and you're the classic like cleaning up the neck, and then you're done, and 30 seconds later their neck is turning red, and you're like, oh shit, yeah, I got you. You know what I mean? So
yeah, like there have been a couple, like, that's why I do my best to never get a haircut after work, because I don't want to be tired, because fucking haircuts put you to sleep. It can put me to sleep. So, but like, so when I get my haircut now, I try to do it on the weekends, and I am the most still and stiff I have ever been in my life, because I don't want to get cut.
Thank you.
I don't want my hair to get all fucked up, so I'm just like, don't fucking hit me. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, fuck.
I mean, I tell people, I'm like, dude, we're on the same team here. Come on, help me out. Like, we gotta work together on this one.
Help me help you.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, help me help you, dude.
So when you're going through the actual barber school, and then I imagine there's a lot of on the job type like mentorship and training that you're doing, what's kind of a little more on the cross contamination? Like, what are you worried about, like bacteria wise, or like if it gets to the point of bloodborne pathogens? But I'd imagine it's more like bacteria and skin stuff. Like, what are you worried about?
It's more bacteria and skin stuff for sure. I mean, there's a lot of different things that go into it, but worried about, like, obviously if you see somebody come in and they have some type of condition on their head, or it's something that, like, might be a little bit contagious, you're probably gonna be like, hey dude, you're not good to get a haircut right now. And that actually happened to me, like, about a year into me cutting hair, it was at campus, and of course I was a new guy, and we opened up the shop at 7 a.m. on Saturdays, and so you would get some of the drunk guys from the night before that had been roaming Central that would come in, and they would have cash, and so they'd be like, "Hey, I need a haircut. How much?" And we were like, $11. And my boss, of course, would be like, "Well, he can get you. You know what I mean? The new guy can get you." So, but I take this guy in, and he's cool. He's just drunk. You know what I mean? He's chilling out. But I start his haircut. I roll around to the back, and I notice it's a little bit. I think he's sweating. I'm like, oh, because this guy has like dark hair, you know. And I'm like, oh, maybe he's sweating. And then I'm like going to lift up with the comb to kind of check before I just go for it, because that's another thing you have to learn to, like, even with beards, before you go take a razor, ask for imperfections, or just really, it's your job to kind of go through with the comb and look for them yourself too. And but I remember getting to the back of the head, and the dude had gotten bashed in the back of the head the night before and had a completely open wound and was still bleeding, but he was so drunk that he couldn't feel it. And I remember being like, "Dude, I'm so sorry. You're like half of a haircut in, but I can't cut your hair." And he was like, "Why not?" I'm like, "You're bleeding, man." And he was like, "Oh," touches the back of it, and he's like, "Well, shit, yeah, I'm bleeding. Oh, shit. All right, sorry about that." And he just like got up and took off, you know. But things like that you got to watch for. Just certain skin conditions too, and then again, just like for me, I the golden rule: I wouldn't do anything to anybody else I probably wouldn't want done to myself. So I try to just stay up to those like standards and pars, just because I'm like, it could always be switched so easily, so quickly. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. All right. So going back to your open up your business, you're dealing with government bullshit, you're finally getting your business license. How long did it take you from like starting the process to you have the license? How long did that take for you to get the license?
That took me about 2 to 3 months, like a summertime.
And were they allowing you to still operate? Were they allowing you to still do the shop? Or
be completely honest, I didn't wait for them to give me the green light to operate. At that point, I was like, I'm up and I'm running, and if they come in, I applied for it, and it's kind of on their end for not getting back to me within the next couple months.
I was gonna say that, right? You can't control how fast somebody moves, A, and then B, if you're already in this shop, and you're paying rent, it's not like you can just not be in business.
No.
And then isn't it like at the time with that, you don't have the same landlord, do you?
No.
No, okay.
Fuck no.
So, so with that landlord, and it's a fucking neurosurgeon. This guy's smart, but like, you know, isn't it kind of that landlord's job to make sure that if a business is being ran in their property, that the business is being ran properly?
Absolutely. And to answer your question with that, that's actually the reason why I left the first space. I loved that first barbershop. It was a little hole in the wall. The shop is called Ito's Barbershop because I started on the Central of Edith and Central, hence the East Downtown District. So we went with Ito's Barbershop, and that space was so cool, man. And we had so many memories there. And it was like a pro and a con. He really didn't care whether we had a license or not. But then on the other end of it, like we were throwing art pop-ups at the time, and they were definitely ragers. Like I remember taking over Central, people were in the street, and I was like, "Come on, guys, you get like we're in Central, and I don't want it to be like this crazy." But that's how packed out we would get the shop there. And they had a backyard, and he didn't care. We'd stay out there drinking beers till 1 a.m. after a pop-up. And so there was the pros and the cons. But I finally left because, I mean, I was legit, but our neighbor next door at the time, it was called the Rat Trap, and there was this guy next door who was, I mean, the first year I was there, him and I had a great relationship with each other. I knew he was my neighbor. He was a little crazy, but aren't we all? You know what I mean? And he was just one of those strange people, but that I never understood. But I've always been fascinated by people, and that's obviously my job. But him and I connected. We were obviously neighbors, and we look out for each other's back. But then, after about a year of being there, man, it started to get a little tedious because he was, and I still think to this day, and so I don't want to drop any of their names, but I think that the landlord was somehow had a deal made out with this guy to sell drugs out of next door because he was never legit, never had a license. He literally, the guy next door, collected rocks and stuff out of dumpsters and just random shit that he would like go and put all over my patio in my area on a Saturday, or he would like bring in, but it was a front for something, obviously. And then after being there for a while, I realized what it was. He would bring in girls from Central, people from Central, and they'd go into his place. They do their thing, and then he'd lock them out. And then these people would shoot up, or they would do their drugs in front of my barbershop on a Saturday when I was having to walk mom with kids in and out. And then he would lock the door, and they were my problem. They'd come into the barbershop. They would pick up trash cans and throw them at my window. There was this one lady, shout out. I was going through some old paperwork the other day, and I found not a restraining order, but like basically like this lady's not allowed to come back to this area. And it was because she showed up one day and destroyed my like front area. But my favorite part is she left her breakfast burrito, her Lotta Burger combo number 1, please, and she kissed the window with her lipstick on. But yeah, I
Wait,
found that
she vandalized your shop.
she vandalized my
by
shop.
putting her breakfast burrito. Oh my
Yep.
god.
Yeah, she put it all over and then kissed the window, and then she came back and left her order the next day. Literally wrote down like Blake's number 1 green, like with a little kiss. Like I was gonna buy her another burrito. It was insane. But I found that, and then that was the frustrating part, dude. Is I was all on my own. Like I'd call APD, they'd show up 2 hours too late after they were done destroying their shit, and then they wouldn't want to write them up because then it was paperwork. And so they would basically be like, well, we'll make them sweep it real quick, and then we're just going to send them on their way. And I had one too many of those situations happen. So
Because there's something to be said for community policing where you leave paperwork out of it and you
Yep.
keep it at the community level.
Yep.
Like, there is something to be said for that. But when it's a continued issue over and
obviously.
over, like you have like do your fucking job, man.
It was so frustrating. I wasn't getting backed up. And then I remember coming to my landlord and being like, hey, dude, so like, because I was cutting his hair too at the time, and obviously I hear everybody's secrets when I'm cutting their hair. And he slipped up. My landlord did one time and was like, I'm so over the guy next door. He hasn't paid me rent in 3 months. Like this is it. And so I remember like noting that, and then being like coming to him a couple months like towards where the lease was ending, and being like, hey man, I don't know what weird thing you two have going on. He obviously hasn't paid rent, but you're allowing him to still stay here. Going back to like when I first opened, 8 months into me opening up the barbershop, COVID happened. I got shut down for 3 months. And during those 3 months, I asked this landlord who was a neurosurgeon if I could either postpone payments until I was done, or if there was any way that I could pay him half in the meantime, because I literally wasn't working. My girlfriend at the time was in the service industry as well, so she lost her job. And then
Was she
again,
like serving or like bartending?
she was bartending at the time, like man, yeah, she was beer tending, and so she lost her job. I lost my job. Going back to the whole trying to call the government type thing, like getting through for people for assistance at that time was almost nearly impossible.
Yeah, I was gonna say, were you eligible for the what was it called, the payment protection program?
So I was, but what's crazy is all that didn't enact until it was way too late. Like I had to go those 3-4 months.
See, and that shit really fucking. First of all, that's what like, and I kind of I know you don't want to talk about politics too much, but like what blows my mind about the whole COVID nonsense was, well, a lot of things, but specifically with the small business side of it.
Yeah.
What blows my mind about it was like, and I'm saying this as a Christian, but like my whole thing is like, I get why churches don't pay taxes. I really do. Government having their hands in any part of your life typically isn't a good thing.
Yeah.
It typically doesn't go well, right?
Yeah.
Less government is usually better. Unless it's like, they're supposed to protect you and protect your rights. But
I agree.
when they start getting into like your personal life and regulating things and telling you how to do things, like that's when it becomes an issue. So I totally understand why churches of any religion, any shade,
Yeah, absolutely.
shouldn't be paying taxes. I get it, because then if they're paying taxes to the government and the government has some kind of onus upon them, and you don't want that, right?
Yep.
On the other hand, if you don't pay into the system, you shouldn't be allowed to take from the system.
Absolutely.
And I have heard story after story about shit like you're bringing up right now, where it's like either I didn't get payment at all or I got assistance and it was way too late. But then places like fucking Sagebrush and Calvary got $1 million each.
To stay afloat.
And it's like, what?
Yes, yeah.
In what universe is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know. That just shit like that just blows my fucking. So like,
It was, yeah.
when
crazy
did, and I
time.
know this is kind of skipping ahead a little bit, but like when you got any kind of assistance from the government, when did you end up getting it?
You know what's
Like
crazy?
for the specific business, I know that like the stimulus checks came out, but
Yeah.
like specifically for
Well,
the business.
So I got my first stimulus, and you know what's crazy is you said it earlier. I did the same shit, dude. I forgot my INEI number, and when I applied for the first time to get through to them, I used the wrong number. So it was my own fault. I'm the dumbass for not double checking my stuff. But
Yeah.
because of that, I got no assistance that year. Like I got the first stimulus, and then we went like a whole year with me just surviving, and then I was finally able to, after all of it, recover. And then go to my tax lady, and that's when I was like, I need to transfer. At the time, I was the sole proprietor, and I was like, I need to go to an LLC. Like I learned, it was my first year in business. I was 24 years old. I was just getting my licensing going, and so I did not expect COVID to happen, obviously, but it did, and I was able to survive. And after that, was able to go back to my tax lady, and she was able to help me get approved for. It was a loan that ended up. They didn't want to say it was like forgiven, but it was a loan that I was able to take out to help me just stay afloat. That I don't have to pay back now, which is good. So,
and I would imagine you kind of felt like a bit of a chump if you're still paying rent while the dude next to you is kind of not giving a fuck.
I felt, dude, I mean, we were deemed non-essential, so I lose my job, and then I'm like, and then I come to this landlord who's obviously making a ton of money, and I know he's not charging the guy next door because they have something going on, and he's like, no, dude, you owe me the full amount every month. He's like, I'll let you pay it late, but you can have a grace period with no late charge, but you're gonna pay me rent for the next 3 months still. Which was insane to me. So, but I did. I mean, I've been in this. I've owned this barbershop for going on 6 years now, and there have been so many times, whether it was due to a landlord or something like COVID, or just somebody that was out to try to get me, that I should have. I'm like, I had every right to throw in the towel, but I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, if I'm gonna quit this, I'm gonna do it on my terms.
Well, it's not even quitting it. It's just like. Because you can still keep the thing open and just be a dick and not pay rent.
Yeah, and I totally could have, but that's not. But it's just not the way I was raised.
Yeah, no, yeah. See, and then you have a matter of conscience where it's like, oh, I can't.
Yep, I'm like, I can't. So it's just, I know it's crazy, right?
That's nuts, dude. So COVID hits. Really, the lockdowns start like mid-March.
Yeah,
from what I remember.
It was March. Yep. So yeah, we'd opened June, made it to March.
Okay.
We got shut down within that first month. We were closed for like a couple months, and then they let us reopen, and then they re-shut us down a second time.
If you don't mind me asking, what were you doing to stay afloat in those, like, just round number and say 90 days?
Shit, dude. The first week, my girlfriend and I were finishing a pack of White Claws, probably a day. We were just hanging out at home.
What were you doing for
chilling.
money?
So yeah, that's what I'm saying. And,
okay.
then we went like a week or two, and we're like, this isn't self-sufficient at all. So. I was able to just I started cutting people's hair. People were reaching out after 2 weeks of me not being there.
Good for you, man.
And you know what's crazy? I went house to house. I obviously I went to homes. But the people that were reaching out to me at the time were nurses, doctors, police officers, firefighters.
No shit.
And that's why I felt right doing it still. I was like, well, if my friend who's a doctor has asked me to come to his backyard, it's obviously safe enough to do it, but...
You're going to a foot doctor and he's telling you, yeah, it's fine, man, come on.
Going to my chiropractor and he's telling me that.
Hey, you said doctor, not chiropractor.
No, yeah, I was like, it was just crazy times. But yeah, the people that were like supporting me in the time or still wanted me to come by, I just felt right doing it for. And I traveled the wild for 2 people's homes. But then after some time, I realized that it was more not safe and less cleanly than it would have been just to stay put in one area, because again I practice like these certain things, and so like you're going home to home and I don't have time to put the stuff into barber side in between haircuts because you can't carry a blue thing at somebody's house, fill it up, do the proportion. Like it was just so much that went into it. So after like maybe a month or 2 of doing that, I realized it wasn't the safest, and so what I ended up doing was just I picked 2 days where I cut people in my tiny little apartment. I didn't even have like the apartment was like you walked in and you had like the living room, the kitchen, all of it in one. So I went back to my roots and I was cutting people in my kitchen again.
Dude.
And it was my closest people. It was 2 days of just literally just homies and people I trusted in my home and where I wanted, because some people I do not want knowing where I live. So I was like, you know what, I can bring in my closest people, and that's what kept me afloat for those, say, 90 days that we were doing it. So
no, I understand that, and that's why like when it's come, like, I mean, this podcast is a great example. The only reason that I take complete strangers, because I mean, I fucking stay here. Mm-hmm. The only reason I keep taking complete strangers if they're a vouch off somebody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's very, very rare
yep.
that it's someone that I just met off Instagram.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever done that, actually, now that I think about it. I have.
You have?
Just
okay.
once or twice, and they turned out to be cool people.
And they were cool.
So but it was also people that, like, we knew mutual people, and I had even done some, hey, do you know this guy? What do you think about this person or this girl or whatever?
Yeah.
Or people that had like a more public platform, so it was like they do something shady, but hey, this motherfucker, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's
to call them out on it.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, I mean, it was I'm being honest with you because it's just what I had to do to survive at the time, and I had an apartment to pay still, I had car payments, I had my life.
Hey man, it was that or OnlyFans. So
yeah, exactly, and I think people might pay me to keep my clothes on. So.
Hey, money's money, motherfucker.
Hey.
I'll take my dick out, I swear.
I don't even
$20 or I'll do it.
I don't even know if OnlyFans was the thing then, right?
Oh, fuck yeah, it was.
Okay, it just wasn't as,
yeah, that's where it exploded.
Is that what it exploded? It popped off.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah. See, I was like, I didn't even know that was an option at the time. I was like, shit.
That's funny. So, end of 2020 starts coming around. Start opening back up. When do you leave? Because you said you've been in 4 places so far? 3 or 4?
3. This is my
3.
third. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you leave the first place. Where do you go next?
Leave the first place. It completely went south. I told the guy, I was like, it's me or him, the neighbor next door. He said, I'll kick out the neighbor. A month went by. Never kicked him out. So I just said, hey, I'm out. In that process, they came by. They came into the shop without my permission. They took photos of everything that was in the wall and the way that it was. And we had a verbal, and this is where, again, I've learned so many lessons along the way. But we had a verbal agreement that whatever I put in the wall, I could take with me as long as I fixed it the way as is, you know? And so they knew what they were doing. They came in before I left, took photos of the way that the shop was, and then because it was never written in paper, said that we did not have a verbal agreement for me to take my stuff. So they kept about half my barbershop at that first place.
What'd they keep?
The neurosurgeon kept a wash sink bowl. They kept my lighting that I put into the shop, like certain things. They kept a couple of the stations. Anything that I had like made kind of like permanent in the space, they kept.
What the fuck?
And then when they came into the place, I was like, we have a verbal agreement. You have no proof. And they're like, oh yeah, we let ourselves in yesterday because there was water outside on the patio. It was an emergency. In your lease, it says we can come in whenever as the landlord if there's an emergency. And then not only that, they got the best of me on that one. I still felt like, but then I left, and I relocated, and a week after relocating, they submitted on Google that I was permanently closed as well, which was insane to me. So
how are they able to do that?
You can, I think anybody can hop on and just go in and like try to like permit, but because they said that they owned the building, they went in and said that like my business wasn't there, but also permanently closed because of it.
Man.
Yeah. So that was crazy. I thought that was like, man, what a wild ride. Even after paying my rent through COVID,
That's petty as fuck.
It was pretty petty. It was crazy, man. I believe in karma though, truly. I'm really happy in my life and where I ended up. And again, I do believe in God, and I think that God has a plan for all of us, and that was His way of saying, get the heck out of here. You know what I mean? So,
and humans have we have a really bad tendency to not learn lessons until it's the worst case possible for that lesson.
Absolutely,
because we're stubborn.
Yeah, I'm
stubborn. We're very slaps over the head don't really work until it's right in front of our face. And it's like, oh shit, yeah, it is time to go. Okay, whatever, we're done. Fine, fuck it.
Yep, exactly. I was like, let's get out of here. So I packed it up. I found another space just super quickly. It was actually in Nob Hill. I had already at the time almost had probably like 60, 70 5-star reviews on Google. So we moved the space, and I decided to keep the name just because of the reviews. And like, I was like, man, I can't completely rebuild everything, you know? So take the original Ito's, move it to Nob Hill. We're on Silver and Tulane. And like, dude, I did not learn. So I find this space, and it's a great space. But then I go to meet up with both of the landlords the first time we met at the Wells Fargo there in Nob Hill. And it was these two partners, and they, again, I'm not going to drop their names, but they come in, and it was husband, and we start talking, and immediately I don't get along with one of them. For some reason, he's just like, they're telling me stuff like, well, you can do this and you can do that. And I'm like, okay, well, I took the lease. I asked you guys to re-add that stuff into it. Like, where's the new lease? And they were like, oh, it's on there. And I'm like, no, I just reread again, and this is the original lease that I saw the first time. You promised me these things, like where I need it in written form. And they were like, are you not, like, you don't trust us? And I'm like, to be honest, I'm sorry, I don't. Like,
yeah, why would you? I just met you.
I'm like, I just met you. I just went through a terrible situation with my last landlord, and like, I need to move and that's the thing, man, is it was time sensitive. Like, again, it's always been my livelihood. So I was like, the longer I'm out of a place, the longer I'm not going to be cutting hair nor making money. And right. So the thing too, what really sold me on this spot is it was even cheaper than the first one. And the space was about the same size, and it was in a great location, man. It was 1 block over from the new Matucci's now and the Smoky Note, and it was right in the middle of Nob Hill. And so for the price that they were charging me, it was unreal. I couldn't turn it down. But again, an argument with one of the partners, and he gets frustrated, and he's like, I don't want to sign. And I'm like, okay, sounds good. And so I get up and I'm walking out, and his husband comes up to me and he's like, hey man, I don't know what his problem is. He's having a bad day, but like, we really need the money too, and I like you. And he's like, so give me the lease. I'll rechange everything the way you asked me to. and we'll go about this if that's okay.
Good on you, man, for sticking to your guns.
No, I stuck to it. I literally shook their hands and walked out, and he came to me and he was like, I'll change everything. And then I made one more. I said, okay, I'll do it under one condition. You take your husband off the lease and it's just you and I. And he was like, okay, done.
Fair enough.
He was like, done. Because I was like, I'm not dealing with that. I don't even want that guy on there. And he was like, okay, done. So we do it. I come back in the next day. We sign. That was a red flag right there. I should have known better. But again, I just kind of had to scramble and do with what I needed to. And so we moved the shop. I have a friend at the time who had promised to help me move the shop and so that they would completely cover it because their partner's father owned a moving company. And I was like, are you sure? And they were like, yeah, this is the least I can do for you because you've just been going through the ringer lately with the business.
Wait, so say it one more time. So that happens, then what are they going to cover?
No, I have a coworker at the time, and they promise to cover the move.
Okay.
They say, my girlfriend's dad owns a moving company. Like, I will cover the move completely on me. This is the least I can do to help you. And going back, and this is one of my best friends at the time, and I'm like I can't expect that from you, but like,
what was the motivation to help you that way?
We were coworkers at the time, and so they needed that new space to go to as well. We were both making the move.
Because they were moving with you with the.
Okay. So yeah, so their motivation was like, hey, I have a connect, I'll do it. It'll be free. Nothing in life is ever free. So they moved
very rarely.
Very rarely. They moved the shop. We get there. We unload everything, and it's way more work than they expected to. I knew it was going to be. And we get there, and we're literally a week into being settled into this new space. And the dad, the mover of the place, came in a week later and was like, hey, man, I said I was going to help you with this, but honestly, I just decided I don't like you or like you're my coworker, and I'm going to have to charge you for the move. And I'm like...
But your shit's already in the building?
The shit's all in the new building.
I'd be like,
Yep, and that
okay.
And I was like,
"What are you gonna do? Move my shit back?"
Exactly. And I was like, "Dude, you said you were gonna help me. Like we shook hands, and I'm sorry. Like that. Like we had a deal." And he's like, "Well, I charge people up to $800 to $1,000 to do this. Like, you owe me money. You owe me money. Like I need my money." And I'm like, "Dude, I have $200 for you." And he was like, "That's it? This is all you have for me?" Like, I was like, "I got $200, dude. Take it or leave it." And he was like. He takes the money and he like swears he'd never help or come back again. And so it's just like one thing after another at this point. And I'm like, man, not even my best friend right now can like.
It's like you've seen Spider-Man 2, right? With Toby.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Where he's going up to his apartment. They got rent. Like, well, I don't really have it right now. All I have is this. I just have this $20 for the rest of the week, and he snatches it out of his hand.
That's all I had. I was like, dude, this is all I have, bro. Go and take it again. Take all I have for this.
Jesus, man. Wait, did he really just like walk up to you? He's like, hey, just kidding. I don't like you. Give me money.
I don't think it was me necessarily. I think that my coworker and their girlfriend at the time were kind of like.
There it is. I was looking for the. Okay.
And I just happened to be caught in the middle of it. And so after the move, he decided that they weren't thankful. So because they weren't thankful, I wasn't either. And so that's why he came back and it was like, you owe me money.
I'll bet that your that old buddy had said some things that were a little out of color, said some things that maybe he didn't mean, or maybe he articulated not right. That bit you in the ass.
Oh, it absolutely bit me in the ass. I think they got in an argument the day we were moving, and my old buddy like did a burnout in the parking lot and left. And so that was absolutely what it was in front of their girlfriend and father. And I was like,
"This will show them. I'm gonna ruin my tires."
Yeah, exactly. And so so that was it. That was that. But I just crazy experiences, man. I'm telling you. And this is where like I love people still to this day, but also like you have to be very careful who you trust. You have to have stuff and go about it legitimately. Have it in paperwork.
Yeah.
Like, and it sucks to be like that. I grew up where like a handshake meant something.
Not anymore.
Yeah, no, absolutely
well, it's the same
not.
principles. Like just people don't fight anymore. People shoot.
They shoot. Yep.
They shoot. That's why That's why you just stay out of it.
You
put
your pride down. You walk away the best you can to get out of there.
One of the best ways, or one of the best things that I've heard about street fighting was from Jocko Willink. He's a ex-Navy SEAL, does a podcast now, his own business, whatever. And I think he was a guest on somebody's podcast, and they're asking like, "What's the best technique for a street fight?" And he was like, "Run away."
Yeah, literally.
Run away. That's because when you think about it, it's like someone's gonna pull out a knife.
Yep.
Someone's gonna pull out a gun. Somebody gets a lucky shot on you, and you drop and you hit your head on the concrete. You're going up against somebody bigger than you. They are going to pick you up and drop you on your head.
Yep.
That like one of my best friends, his dad, he unfortunately recently passed away, but his dad.
Sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, his dad used to be a bouncer back in the 80s and the 90s. Well, mainly in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
a big old dude, right? Used to get on some Mexican supplements and, so big old dude. And he used to be a bouncer over at like fucking TDs and a few bars and that kind of stuff.
Been
like,
through the mix.
Like here in Arizona and all this shit. And he would tell us that he was like, yeah, like me and my buddies, like, we're not looking to fight you. Like if we know you don't have a weapon and you're causing, and we think you're going to try and hit us, we're just going to drop you on your fucking face.
No, yeah.
And it's like, well, fair enough.
Yep.
So it's like, just run away. And the same thing with like business. Like friendships are great, no matter how long you've had them. But if you're going into business with somebody, you need to take off the friendly hat.
Absolutely.
It doesn't mean you can't be nice in business. Of course you have to be nice in business. But you need to put on the thinking cap, put on the business hat. Like, okay, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this properly.
Absolutely.
You need to do it to where it's like, okay, this is what we're agreeing to. This is how it's going to get executed. This is the timeline. These are the penalties if something happens or doesn't happen. Like,
you have to be up front, forward, direct,
thorough.
have things. Yes, and that's what I've learned. And like you said, that you made a very good point, man. That's learning. I mean, that's my hardest part. Is I love people, like I said, and so it's very hard a lot of the times not to become very close to the person you're hanging out with 12 hours a day at the shop, especially if you're vibing out the way that you are. You know what I mean? Like you hear everything. Like you hear their problems, they hear yours. They listen to you talk to people. You listen to them talk to people. You talk to each other, and so. That's been probably one of the most difficult things with the hat that I wear now is learning how to take off the one where I'm your friend and then putting back on the one where it's like, I've never called myself anybody's boss because that's not the way I run the shop.
But you are.
But at the end of the day, it is my shop.
You're the owner.
It's like I'm the owner of the place. And so that's where, like, again, you got to keep personal aside from business. And it's been one of the hardest things I've had to do, but also I'm still here today because there's been multiple times where I have to put business first. And
well, that's a part of being in a leadership role, but at the same time, I mean, you have to be selfish because this is your livelihood. If someone that's working for you, they can probably go get hired at a different barbershop. They can go get hired at a Great Clips. They can go get another job.
Of course.
And most people, like 90% of relationships are, they're relationships of circumstance. So not to dumb it down like that, but again, you're only connected like this because you're working together.
Absolutely.
If y'all weren't working together, it probably wouldn't have formed anyway. So it's not to take it lightly, but you need to just remind yourself that, like, hey, at the end of the day, we're coworkers, and we need to be here to do the thing. And especially if you're in a role like you're in, where it's a leadership role, you're the person that's owning the business, you need to put the business first. Because if you're not, then everyone loses their job.
Yep.
Then like what the fuck now?
Then yeah, exactly. It's like I'm not going down on this sinking ship. You know what I mean? So
don't even let the ship sink.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we're not even gonna
patch the hole and
right
move
away,
on.
and that's it. Yep, exactly. So
yeah. So you're dealing with the couple. The move in goes shitty.
But we settle in. I signed a year lease. We're there for a year. Everything's going great. I love the space. I love my neighbors next door. The other small businesses. At the time, is a barbershop, a plant shop, and like a little tiny like collective space. And all my neighbors are super cool, very sweet, genuine people. We all supported each other really well. That was probably my favorite part, being in that neighborhood. Being able to walk places, too, was awesome. And at the time, I lived close to there, so I was riding my bike or walking to work, which was probably one of the coolest things that I've done in my life. I haven't had that same opportunity since. But
and that doesn't really exist in Albuquerque.
It doesn't.
We're not really like a pedestrian paradise unless you live downtown
not
or you
at all.
live in Nob Hill. It's like...
Yeah. See, and I live in Silver Hill, so I would cruise up on my bike up Silver and make it to Nob Hill, and it was maybe on a bike 8 minutes, 7 minutes. You know what I mean? It was quick. So, but I love that space for the short amount of time that I was there. Again, going back to another shitty situation with the landlord, the space itself was really old. These landlords were they were the type that were just taking a paycheck and not putting anything back into their own space, and so after being there for, say, 6 months, like, something would go out, and obviously it was my responsibility to fix it, even though it didn't say in the lease that it was, but I would just do it. And then I think where it kind of I started to piss off the landlord was when I came into, well, obviously it was a build-up. There was a couple times where it was raining pretty heavily, and I noticed that there was bubbles in the roof. Oof. And so I called my landlord, and I take photos, and I'm like, hey, man, there's multiple bubbles in the roof. The water's sitting here. It's going to rot. Like, it's also going to pop at any moment. No response. Finally called. They're like, hey, we'll send somebody out. We go again a couple weeks. Nothing happens. And then seasons change. And then it's like the next big, it's a snowstorm comes in. And I come into work the next day, and it's a completely new bubble that decided to pop overnight over one of our stations.
Oh.
So, yeah, water all over clippers, all over the electrical shit, on somebody's chair, like just... And it had been dripping like that all night since we had gotten there. And so I literally take a video of water gushing through the roof onto like our electrical stuff. And I text the landlord and I'm like,
the place is going to burn down.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, dude, like, this is a serious issue. Like, I still need your help. It was, yeah, like, it's the place is burning down. Like, we need your help. His response was, that's your fault for leaving your stuff under a leaky roof. Move it out of the way, and I'll send somebody once the storm's done. That was his go-to. Is I'll send somebody once I'm.
He's never heard of an electrical fire.
No, yeah, it was insane. So that was like strike number one, and then just small little things like that kept happening. But that made me so mad that I had a very hard time biting my tongue after that. It was one of those things where I was on his ass all the time. And so I'd kind of given a little bit of push, and always professional. I mean, I know how to keep my shit straight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, and again, sending text so that way I have proof that I'm like...
Digital receipts.
And so we go back and forth, and the lease is ending in about a month. And in my head, I was already like, I don't know if I can stay here, but also like I can't afford to move 1 year after being... moved again.
Right, yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm just gonna play out this month and see how it goes and see if we could do month to month. And literally like 2 weeks before my lease ends, the landlord comes in one day and he's definitely on some type of substance. And he comes in and he's like making a big fuss about the water heater that had been broken 8 months ago that I had already fixed. It was fixed. And he comes in and is like, is the water heater fixed? Like in the middle of haircuts, he's over there turning it on and spraying himself and like just... And so I have to walk over and I'm like, what's going on, man? Like, yes, it's fixed. I took care of it. Like, no thanks to you. Like, what do you want? And he was like, well, I need to speak to you right now. And I'm like, dude, you didn't call me. You didn't text me. We're up to date on rent. Like,
he's on a little...
something. I don't know what he was. I think he might have been for sure because he was up here and I'd never seen him like that before. And so he comes in angry and he's like, we need to speak right now. And I'm like, no, man, I'm in the middle of a service. Like, you didn't this wasn't pre-planned. Like I said, I'm good on my shit right now. Like, you need to leave and I'll call you after. And he was like, oh, and he got kind of worked up. And at the time, my little sister, man, I love all my siblings. I'm the oldest of 5, but my little sister, she had just started, she was her first year becoming a teacher here in Albuquerque. And she would get off school and sometimes she'd come by the shop and bring me like a coffee or a tea and just hang out, like chill and stop by and fill me in on my day. And so she was visiting that day and it was just her, I, and a client that I was cutting. And so she's sitting there kind of thrown off, and she sees the guy, and then he, like, leaves, and he goes out to his car, and I see him sit in his car, and I go back to the haircut. Like, none of us know who he is. Like, it's not, you know what I mean? I'm cutting my client's hair. I'm talking to my sister about her day, and I see him sit in the car and get extra worked up, turns red in the face, and he gets back out, and he opens the door, and he screams at me. He's like, Joe, outside now. And I'm like,
how old is this guy?
This guy, shit, dude, at this time I'm like 20, what am I, 26 maybe, 27, and this guy's has to be at least 50, 55. Like,
jeez.
Like grown-ass man, and he's screaming and yelling at me like he is a child. And so he yells, and I think he was trying to intimidate me a little bit, and I was just like, I'm really stern, but I'm not like a yeller or get too worked up myself, but I was like, no, I'm going to call you after this appointment. Please get out. I don't appreciate you yelling. And then he came in, and then this is where I kind of lost it. But he called he was like, I'm tired of this bitch talking shit about me, referring to my sister. And he was like, and I come in here and nobody knows who the fuck I am, and I'm sick of it, Joe. And this is where I was like, hey man, let's step outside real quick. You know what I mean? Because I was like, you are not going to sit here and call my sister names.
Because how old is your sister at this point?
At this point, she's like she had just graduated and started first. She's like 22 years old.
Yeah, so young.
23,
young girl.
She's young girl. And this 55-year-old man is in here calling her names and saying that she's talking. And I'm like, out of everybody in here that would be talking about you, it wouldn't be her. You know what I mean? Like she
I promise you, she does not care about you enough.
She does not. Nobody in here even knows who you are. And so I stepped out and I had to like put a body between my sister and him, and I was like, okay, say what you gotta say. Like, you interrupted my haircut, like, what's going on? And he just completely lost it. Went on a rant, repeated things I don't even want to say. But one thing that did stick with me was he was like, I am sick of you and your types of people taking advantage of me. And I was like, all right, man, I'm not like fuck you, but this is my last straw. Like,
I'd be like,
I'm
do
done.
you know where we are right now?
Exactly. It was crazy to me. I'm like, dude.
Keep that up in Tanawan, homie.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, dude, this is ridiculous. So yeah, at that point, crazy life, dude, crazy life. So at that point, I'm like, yeah, I'm leaving. I need to figure out where I'm going again for a third fucking time.
There's not a lot of Valley in me left, but Jesus Christ, dude.
I know, bro. I couldn't catch a break there for a little while. It was crazy.
That would come out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was wild. So.
Yeah, that's infuriating. Old
But
white dude.
the old white guy. Yeah, of
That's
course.
just and
It was
not
crazy.
not to sound like a bigot, but gay guy
No.
too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you
It
think
was.
he'd be friendly towards the
Yeah,
minorities?
you would think he'd be cool, but
What
yeah.
the fuck?
Yeah, man. I'm like,
Oh my god.
yeah. It was.
That's unfortunate, man.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, it's one of those things where, again, I'm like, I'm happy with my life and with who I am as a
Yeah.
person, and I always felt like, again, I feel like I truly lose when people really get the wrong reaction out of me, and that's where like he didn't that day. I was stern enough to like stick up for my sister, my client, my business, but also
Yeah.
not like I didn't stoop to his level. You know what I mean? Absolutely
No.
not. Like this guy's not in his right mind.
Well, I forget who said it, but obviously it doesn't apply. It doesn't really apply to this because this wasn't a stupid argument. Oh, it was stupid, but it
Yeah.
turned borderline violent pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
But one of my favorite quotes is, "You don't argue with stupid people because they bring you down to their level and they beat you."
Yeah. See, I like that. I like that quote a lot.
That's crazy. Okay, so you obviously end up leaving there.
I leave. I say I'm out of here. Screw this
Yeah.
shit. Like I'm tired of the leaky roofs and just going back and forth to this guy. And so I am literally. I'm pressed, dude. I'm like looking at this time too. I had just my old coworker decided to leave, and I brought in a new guy who is still working with me now. And shout out to Keanu. He's one of, again, going back to like where you keep it business and personal, but he is the man. He is on his business. He shows up on time. He's respectful. He's a hustler. He's been in the service industry before, so he gets how he just gets it. And but then not only that, him and I clicked, and like we just have so much in common, and we hang out all day, and like he's truly like one of my best friends at this time. So it's cool because he started. But I was feeling all this pressure. I'm like, man, I just brought this new guy on, promised him all these things, and now a month in, 2 months in, like we're leaving. You know what I mean? We have to go, and so I'm literally doing what I do best, and I'm like, okay, let's find a spot. Like again, like I can't wait up on people, but I just got to start looking around. So I'm checking Facebook Marketplace. I'm on Craigslist. I had gotten to the point where I was literally driving to parts of Albuquerque that I liked, and I was looking for lease or for sale or just like any sort of like vacancy signs. And so I do that. I play that game for those 2 weeks, and during the time, and one of these things that's always kept me through, like through COVID, through this time, it's my people, man. Like my clients, like a lot of them have been following me for the last 10 years, and so I'm really close with a lot of them. And I remember having a conversation with a client who was very connected as well. He's a manager at Marble downtown, and but I remember just filling him in on everything that had happened, and he's like, "Dude, this is BS. Like, I can't believe it." And he's just a friend. I'm just venting. I get a text from him, literally like probably a week before I'm supposed to be moved out of like this other space, and he's like, "Hey, dude, I told my brother your story. He took that story and passed it along to his hair lady, and she told him to let you know that there might be a space that's going to be vacant here within the next month or so, and to go in to talk to her." And again, and this is where he threw me a bone, but I hit him back, and I'm like, "Cool, dude. Like, what's her name? Where's the shop? Like, where do we go?" And I think he got back to me with like he was like, her name is Erica and she works off Mountain and 11th. He didn't even give me like her name or the shop. Like I was just like, okay, I have enough. So I show up the next day. I go to Mountain and 11th and I introduce myself to Erica, kissed, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm Joe. Like you cut so and so's brother, and I've been looking for a place, and like how long have you been here in this neighborhood?" And she's off Mountain and 11th, a beautiful like 2-story. It's like a little warehouse almost. There's a lot of different businesses in there, and she's owned her cosmetology, like her shop downstairs for 10 plus years there. She's been there forever. And so I come in and it was kind of like an interview that I didn't really even know that I was being interviewed on, but she just wanted to talk to me for a little bit. We sat down, we talked for about 30, and she was like, Joe, she was like, "I've had multiple barbers come into this space before and I've always turned them away." And she goes, "At this point, I'm basically like the property manager." She's like, "I like you a lot. And I think that," she's like, "I don't even know what your shop is like, but I like your style. And I think that you would be a great fit here." She was like, "I will reach out to these landlords and get back to you if it's going to be open." And I was like, "Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much." So then a couple days later, I get a text from my current landlord now. And he's like, "Hey, Joe, Erica recommended you. We'd like to meet you. Come by." And the crazy part is the space I was supposed to rent was also downstairs next to hers. It was a way smaller space. It wasn't 1,500 square feet. It was like a little under 1,000. It was still a good size, but it was like under that. And rent was cheaper though. And at the time it was just the 2 chairs. And I was like, this would be perfect. And so we go to look at that space. And my current landlords now were like, "Joe, I am so sorry, but we messed up. We thought we could rent you this space down here for this price that we gave you. And it turns out that they had like a realtor that was helping them. They're like, or the realtor found somebody already. Like we have somebody moving in." And they're like, "But what we can do to help you, being that Erica likes you, we like you, and you're kind of in this like tight space right now, is they're like, we can help you out with rent for the first couple of like months, and you can take up the space upstairs, which includes our own balcony, 1,500 square feet. And they're like, and we will help you out with the rent down here and just like match it for a little bit. But they're like, but it would help if you could do more than 1 year on the lease. And I was like, how long can you guys do on one lease? And they're like, we can do 3 years if that's okay with you. And this is where everything felt right this time around. I made sure to ask them questions.
Yeah.
Immediately, I was like, can you guys add this in the lease? And they did.
What's your policy on leaks?
Yeah, exactly. What's your policy on the leaks here? Like, you guys can come help me if my AC goes out for summer. I don't have to worry about fixing it on my, like, and they were I can feel, I think I get a good read on people. That's definitely my gift. I mean, that's what I've been doing for the last 10 years. And I could just tell. I was like, this is finally the break that I've been looking for sure. So I signed this lease a year and a half ago. And since then, it's been the most amazing experience that I've ever had. Like, they are the greatest landlords in the sense that they leave me alone. I send them their rent via Venmo every month, and it's as simple. I don't have to worry about dropping it off. It's as simple as that. And there's been small things, obviously, because that's every building that you're in.
Shit happens.
Shit happens, of course. But they've been quick to show up within the next day. The longest they've gone is maybe a week, but it's because they're like, hey, dude, we're sending somebody and they're booked until next week.
Yeah.
And so I'm just so thankful. And again, like I said, I think God always has a plan for us, because the first 2 pushes were absolutely insane. But if I wasn't pushed to scramble in that moment and found the area that I'm at now, it just would have been no way. And going back to like what we talked about at the beginning, like I now have people reaching out to be like, hey, let's host a comedy show here. And then we've been doing these art pop-ups that we've really been able to just elevate to the next level and almost like treat the space like a studio and bring in way more vendors. And like I said, the first space was not built for that. So we'd have people in Central, which was not safe. And like this one is upstairs, our own balcony, tons of room, and we can properly host people now. And then just like for the best part is just honestly being in a pocket and a neighbor in Albuquerque that I kind of found now. It's in between Wells Park and Old Town. I don't really know what to call it, but we're across the street from Golden Crown Ponderia, and I love that space. I love Slow Burn Coffee. That's my favorite coffee shop. I'm there. Shout out. I'm there every morning. Their cold brew's crazy. It's like the cold brew's crazy.
I can't do coffee, man. It turns my guts into a fucking slip and slide.
Oh yeah, you're like,
can't do it.
Yeah, you're like, I can't do it, man. I need those coffees to get me through some of these like 8 to 10 hour days sometimes. But going back to it, I love the neighborhood. I love my neighbors downstairs. I love everybody in that building. I love the situation, the space itself, and just everything about it. So we've been here a year and a half. We have another year and a half there now to finish out the lease, and I don't see myself going anywhere. Honestly.
And that's not a bad. I was thinking about that when you were describing what the conditions were. That's not a bad trade-off. I mean, because obviously you didn't know the quality of. I mean, you had an idea of the quality of the people you're going to rent from with how they were helping you out.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then it could easily be flipped on its head. Where it's like, yeah, we're going to help this dude out because we really need people in here because people keep leaving because we suck or whatever it is. But thankfully, it was the other way around.
Yeah.
But no, we're going to help this dude, and they're effectively. They're going to make an investment in you.
Absolutely.
And so it's like now you have people that are willing to help you out, get you into the spot, and you have the security of being at a place for 3 years.
For 3 years. And for them, it was so, what I loved about it is it was like, we're going to help you out year number 1, but then come year 2, it goes up to this amount. Year 3, it's this amount. These are the expectations. And so by the end of it, you will be at where we wanted you to be anyways.
Right.
And that's more than you can ever ask for from people. That's more than I've ever been given in my life in this chapter. You know what I mean? So, yeah, again, it's all blessings, and I think back to my crazy story, and I'm exactly where I should be for a reason, you know. So,
and not to be biased, but I think that hosting comedy shows there is going to be pretty fun.
I think they'd be cool, dude.
That Don't Tell, dude, because you know what Don't Tell is?
No. I know they announce the shows like the day of, and they host them in different locations,
dude,
right?
It's starting to become something that people know about, but I would say 90% of people that know about it are people that either gone to it or they're just comedy dorks or they're actual like people that do stand up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a national brand that they have different representatives or producers in the different cities, or like for us, there's just one person because Albuquerque's super tiny, and like Santa Fe has their own comedy, but like they're not big enough to be like a big, huge comedy hub. So Albuquerque's the only comedy hub right now.
Yep.
And so we have our producer, and for them, and yeah, like he works with the people that run Don't Tell across the country.
Yeah, that's cool.
And they do all the marketing for it. I mean, I want to say, I know it's kind of shaky sometimes, but sometimes the venue that gets held, they get paid to like have their space and all that kind of stuff. But like right now, a lot of the bigger comedians that are running around, like, do you know who like Ralph Barbosa is?
I'm not sure. I've heard the name.
Okay, I wonder if I show you his face, you'll probably like him. Yes. Like he got a really big pop out of Don't Tell.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So that was his.
This guy.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
yep, I know who he is.
Yeah, so he got big, and then like Renee Vaca.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Renee.
him,
yep.
and then you know who Sam Talon is?
No.
Oh, dude, if you're
another great. Okay.
If you're any kind of like,
I do like comedy, so I'm gonna check it out. No, I'm gonna have to check him out.
Dude, check him out. He is insane.
I definitely will.
But a lot of these bigger up and coming comedians, it's hard to say up and coming. Have been working for like 10 years, but like the guys that go from like comedy names to like household names, a lot of them are starting to come out of Don't Tell. And it's becoming like a legit platform.
It looks like it is. I see they have a great following. Yeah. Like I went through and checked out some of their stuff, and I loved it. So it's crazy because Frankie and I manifested a comedy show about a year ago, but we didn't know how to go about it. And then literally this year we're starting it off by them reaching out and saying, "Hey, love this space.
That's the way to do it.
Let's try to go." So
that's
cool.
The way to
I have another rec now, so I'm definitely all on board.
You know what?
I mean? I have another recommendation from you, so I'm definitely all on board with it.
Dude, it is well worth your time. And what's cool is the amount of people that they get into your space. I mean, they're giving more exposure to you.
Yeah.
More people are going to talk about it. So it's it's going to be a huge net positive, man. And just those shows are they always sell out.
Yeah.
Always. Yeah. And the shows are always fucking killer.
It's exciting.
They're fucking killer.
It's exciting, yeah. I'm stoked. Big things for this next year for sure at the shop and with the business, and I'd love to bring it in with the new year doing that as well. So. And so
you said you got another year and a half on the lease. What does the future look like for your shop, for your brand? Because you said right now you have 4 chairs.
Yeah, 4 chairs. I'd like to fill the other 2 right now at the moment with 2 other solid people. Of course, stay consistent with the art pop-ups. Right now, we're doing them about every other month, but I want them to almost be like First Friday downtown. You know, like I want them to be like that. Like people know where to come every other month for them being there. Because of course, life happens and it's hard to run a business and then host on the side and still offer the space. And so I want to get a little bit more consistent with that this year. Another big one is building the brand. Of course, like the hat. This is one of our original ones. We have some of the original tees and logos. This has been our newest collaboration with Frankie, and it has Ito's Barbershop Time Zone Today on here, which is super cool. But more collabs. Frankie actually and I have been working really hard on our new website for the barbershop. We have our own domain now, so it's www.itosbarbershop.com. And this shirt's actually live on there now, which I'm super proud of. Like that's been one of my dreams since I first started the space because, again, our motto is more than a barbershop. And, again, not to be cliche or anything, but there were so many barbershops here in Albuquerque, and that's why I wanted to differentiate myself a little bit. 1, but then 2, by doing that, I wanted to I love Albuquerque so much, and I wanted to give back to the community. Also, not only give back, but, like, support it. We have a negative connotation here in Albuquerque. That it's like kind of like, I mean, obviously it's dangerous and you have your days, but I've also met some of the most beautiful people here. I love the culture. I love just like the area. And so my way of giving back to the community is by hosting these events and providing a safe, fun space for people to come in and see this community that does.
That's the biggest part of it. That is the biggest part of it, is being able to show people, especially like, again, let's call a spade. 12th Mountain. Not the
definitely
not the safest spot.
A lot of foot traffic.
And where you're at, I mean, because you have a gated like in front of it, right? Where you have to go in through, and then
you have.
So the fact that you have like a gate to go through, and you have to go to the second floor, and there's other businesses that are established there. There is a level of security, but you're still dealing with homeless people. Absolutely. You're still dealing with crime down there. It's downtown in the metro area. So being able to put on shows there that have a reputation that they're safe and people can go there and they don't have to have. I mean, it's Albuquerque. You're going to have your guard up in any kind of way, but any place that can help you lower that and just feel safer.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That's one of the best things, especially in like the networking side of the business. That's one of the best things you could do for yourself, is not only you're spreading positive word of mouth, you're spreading word of mouth. It's like, we can just go hang out. It's a cool time.
Absolutely. Everybody knows the vibe. Again, like I would never invite somebody to this event that wasn't a friend of a friend, or at least people that I trust. Like-minded people attract other like-minded people and individuals, and that's where like I think I set that vibe, I set that space, and then people come in and it's cool. It's cool to see the respect and to see people drop their egos at the door and everybody come in and become one and vibe and like from kiddos to grown adults that are on the foosball table. We're playing. We have music going. We got food going. We always have a keg from one of the local spots, and it's one of those things where people, you know what I mean, they can come in, have beer, but it's cool. It's cool. Like my dad shows up and has a beer too. Like we'll have, you know what I mean, the clients come in, and so everybody respects the space. And so far, knock on wood, dude, everything's been great there.
Well,
so.
with what you're creating, I'm sure you're gonna be just fine.
Yeah,
you know what I
thank
mean?
you, man.
Because it's tough to do, but once you start getting your stride and you start to become known in the community for that, that's when you start branching out and people just know that, hey, this is something that we can trust.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'd imagine that years down the line, it's gonna be, we're gonna open up a second location, we're gonna get more barbers. Like, have you gamed it out? 'Cause I'm sure because you obviously love cutting hair, so it's gonna be hard to have you like not do that full time. But I would imagine that if you're the business owner, you're the brand owner, there's got to be some kind of end goal where it's like, yeah, you know what? I can cut hair when I want. I can just spend my time focusing on the brand, focusing on the managerial, the CEO side of things, moving all that along, cut hair when I want. If I want to take a week off, I can take a week off. That's like decades down the road. But, you know, just getting down to that point where it's like you choose your own vacations. You choose, you know what I mean?
I've kind of gotten to that point now where the shop is running itself. I have that set culture. I can leave the people that I work with now alone, and I'm not worried it's going to burn down or they're not going to handle things the way that they should, you know? And yeah, I'm at that point now, man, where I can stack, and I book out about 3 weeks in advance, 2 to 3 weeks in advance.
Good for you.
Which is super cool. I mean, and a lot of my clients I've been cutting for 7, 8+ years already at this point. I see them every month, twice a month, once a month, every couple. But I'm at that point now where I kind of can book out those weeks if I need to take off. But you said it best. I'm most absolutely excited for this year to be able to finally, like, not be so pressed to my chair the whole time and focused about the haircutting, but more so about the fun side of it, where it's like focusing on hosting these shows and just really fine-tuning the shop to like make it look the way that I want it to, and making sure that everybody there is comfortable and it's a great workspace to be at.
What's like the biggest thing for the company that you're focused on right now, like outside of like building the brand, like marketing and all that, is like buying all new equipment? Is it getting a new space? Is there like a big thing that you're kind of, where it's like, I gotta save up enough money to do this thing?
Yeah, to do this thing. So right now, I guess where my goals are at is I just turned 30 this last year, and it's cool. I've been doing this all of my 20s, but it's also one of those things where I'm like, I do have my degree, and I feel like I've learned so much with this business and this space that I would like to take what I know now and into something else. I don't know what quite yet that might be, but again, going back to cutting hair, it's truly my passion. But right now I do it as my livelihood, and I guess my end goal is to be able to just own, operate, run my space, come in and cut hair as my side hustle and my passion, and then still have something else on the side that's new and that I can grow within the next decade in my life. You know what I mean?
With the way you talk about it, I could see you owning like a barber school.
Yeah,
I could see that being in your future.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I definitely could do that too. And that's if that's like in my books in the path and something I would like to do, then I would never limit myself in saying that I would want to, for sure. And so I don't know, the possibilities are mine at this point. That's one thing I have been doing a lot within the last couple of months, is just reflecting and really asking myself, like, where do I see myself in 5 years, 10 years, you know what I mean? Like with my career, with where I'm at. So yeah, I think right now I'm in a great spot. I think I want to finalize everything at the shop and just making sure that everything in my mind, it's exactly how I want it, so that way I can finally leave it and then kind of play both sides.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it'd be good to, you know, because you're obviously in your stride, but now you're in a good, secure place. As you continue to grow and you really build for yourself a good template you can just copy and paste off of.
Absolutely.
Then it's just, okay, we know what to do now.
Yeah.
We've been through trial and error. Let's just keep doing that thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now it's just muscle memory.
Yep. It's muscle memory at that point. I don't know if I'd ever want to open up another barbershop. I think I like one. I like having it all under one house, one roof.
That's fair.
I've always told my coworkers I've never really been in it. I mean, obviously we all do it for the money, but the money's not my ultimate goal. I get paid more in life experiences and the people I meet and just everything that I've learned along the way. And that's how I've looked at this last chapter of my life, because if I haven't, then it kind of doesn't make sense as to why I'm still doing it sometimes. If that, you know what I mean? It's
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, so crazy. So yeah, life's all about just kind of finding that perspective and being happy. And right now I'm the happiest I've ever been. So
I think that's a good place to end it on, dude.
Awesome.
That's a great way to put it.
Dope.
That's the goal, right? Just to be happy.
Yep. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So where can everyone find you on social media, find your website? You already said you're off of Mountain and...
we're on Mountain and 11th, right across the street from Golden Crown Pondidia, up the road from Slowburn. Look for us in it's called Urban Mountain Building. All of our handles are at Edo's Barbershop, EDOSBARBERSHOP. And then again, I'm super proud that we finally have the domain and the website up under www.edos.com. So edosbarbershop.com. So you can find us on there. Follow us on Instagram if you want to come to our next art pop-up. We'll definitely post and have the flyers up and on there. If you are an artist, or if you are a DJ, or if you do anything creatively and you think that you're not good enough and you want a space to come in and try it out, hit me up. That'd be a great place to come and just showcase your stuff with no pressure. Another thing that you could do is just stop by anytime whenever we're there. And we always have artwork up on the walls that's for sale. We have the T-shirts always in. We have stickers. We have products. So we have an open door to all walks of life. Like, definitely stop by whenever. So
fuck yeah, and go get a haircut.
yes, and go get a haircut. Yes, sir.
All right, dude, this has been a lot of fun.
Yes, Noah, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you having me on the pod.
Yeah, of course, man.
We just met today, and I feel like I've known you a while, man. So
well, I appreciate that.
Yep,
it means I did my job.
Yes, sir.
This is a lot of fun, dude. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Yes, absolutely.
And thank you everyone for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Peace.
All right.